A reading from the Gospel of Luke. While Jesus was speaking, a Pharisee invited him to dine with him, and so he went in and took his place at the table. The Pharisee was amazed to see that Jesus did not first wash before dinner. Then the Lord said to him, "Now you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness. You fools! Did not the one who made the outside make the inside also? So give for alms those things that are within, and see, everything will be clean for you." Have you ever been out for dinner or at even a church gathering and things are going along well? There's a great vitality and vibrance in the conversation and a wonderful time going, and food arrives at the table, and all of a sudden an awkward silence descends. Especially if you're at a restaurant, it's not usually with the appetizers or the before dinner drinks, but actually when the entree arrives, all of a sudden a pall falls over the table and everyone looks around nervously because we understand it is time for someone to pray. And as a clergy person, I often am faced with either offering a prayer, which I'm happy to do, of course, or inviting somebody else to pray. But it feels not organic to the moment sometimes. I'm sure you've had this experience. And that is what Jesus is talking about in this conversation with the Pharisees. The Pharisees invite him to dine. He comes in and he does not do ritual ablutions. Now, I know in this day and age, certainly after the global pandemic, I'm extremely sensitive about washing my hands before I eat. But I don't think this is that kind of wash your hands for your health moment. This is do your ablutions in a ritual way to show your purity kind of thing. And in some ways reminds me a little bit of that. Everyone's raucous laughter and good and godly and organically joyful conversation coming to a dead halt so that we can have this ceremonial check the box kind of blessing of our food and then go back to what we were doing, hopefully. Jesus is pointing to the fact that when you are filled, and he's about to launch into frankly, a tirade with the Pharisees and the scribes and the lawyers and telling them all the ways that he thinks that their insides and their outsides don't match. And so stay tuned for the next few days as we work our way through that part of the Gospel of Luke. But here he is simply saying it's not important if you make an external gesture that's not connected to something genuine going on within you. So if you have ever kind of dinged yourself for thinking, my goodness, I'm not pious enough, I don't do enough daily prayers, I don't automatically sit down and say a blessing before a meal, and I'm only reminded of it when I go to gatherings with other people and we sit down and there's that awkward moment. Know that Jesus is saying to you, not that prayer is not important, prayer is important, and our rituals are important that help us stay connected to God in prayer, but merely having an outward sign that's not connected to a genuine sense of connection to God and connection to others, that is not so important to God, certainly not to Jesus here, and he is not impressed by those outward signs of the Pharisees that are not connected to other inner and spiritual graces. And this is not to pick on the Pharisees. They just stand in for all of us. You and I are Pharisees, basically. Pharisees were faithful, yearning people trying to do the right thing by God and by one another. And so when you hear Pharisee, don't think, oh, that's them. The Pharisees are us. We are the Pharisees. So Jesus is taking them to task when they think, and taking us to task when we think a mere mechanical outward act or visible sign that's visible to others, is somehow the offering that God is seeking. Give the alms, Jesus says, give of the alms that are your interior life, and the rest falls into place. Be a genuinely joyful and connected person. Be a genuinely grateful person for all that God is and does in your life, and for the gift that God has given us in one another. If you're really there, the rest will follow, says Jesus. May that be with you this day as you go about your day. May your insides and your outsides be connected, and may all of you be connected to the God of grace and love and glory, who has created you, who loves you and sustains you. May God be with you this day. May God bless you and keep you this day and always. Amen.